All right, happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to our second official class meeting today. As you guys can see, there are some reminders. I sent you a reminder that you had your My Math Lab homework due, the Ready, Set, Go part. Remember, I only grade the Go part. And your discussion post was due Thursday. So some of you did your discussion, but maybe didn't reply, so you got partial credit. Please make sure that you note that every Thursday before class, that's when your discussion post is due, along with a post. If you did not know that, I'm telling you guys now, and you also, if that was your case and you really needed the points, please let me know. And then that way we can arrange something. But usually, you want to be submitting your response before Thursday night. So maybe Thursday morning at the latest. Okay. Any questions on that? So those have been graded. If you have done it, whether you did or not, those have been graded already. So if you want to ask a question, or you can also ask through it during the chat.
So
If that was the case, let me know. So it will, go ahead.
So real quick, the grading for it is where again?
The grading, so grades.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you did not reply to someone, then you got 18 out of 25 because you did not do the other parts. So you only did like partial credit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so you have to reply to get the full point. So you do your initial post and then you do the follow-up post. Mhm. And then this is something that I did right now, for meeting two, always before class, you will have this from me. So hello, today we have our second meeting, click here to join us. So there's our Zoom link and then click here to download our notes. So these are the notes, from today that we're going to be covering. So please make sure you, download those and have those in front of you because that's what I'm going to be covering. So then you're making sure that you're going along with us, with that. It's your textbook. If you go to my lab math, you can also see it. It's remember the R chapter that we went over. We're still, so we were actually halfway of R4. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Any questions before I actually begin class, like content wise? Okay, so for this week, which is week 2, this is actually week 2 until we meet next Thursday. You have homework to do. So you have to complete R1 through R8 this week. So this is what we finished. We did R1 through R4 last class. This class will do R4 to R8. Okay. So for that, the assignments, if you go to your assignments in my math lab, I want to go there. So you can go here through my lab math and then click on that. And then you're going to be able to see the assignments here. It should load in a minute. So my math lab all assignments, if you click on that, it's going to tell you what are the next assignments you have to get done. So in terms of your homework, so these were all due. So on the 26th, which is on the following, you have to do here the Ready, Set, Go, and you have a quiz. You have a quiz on the R chapter. So if you click on this R, it's going to be 10 questions and it's going to go over the R chapter. You can have your notes in front of you. I suggest you to highly have your textbook in front of you, the ebook, and the notes that you take in class. So then you have the time and you have 2 attempts. It looks like it doesn't have any time. So it's unlimited time wise, but you only have 2 attempts. Is that clear, everybody? So by the 26th, meaning by next, I think it's a Tuesday. So by Tuesday of next week, you had to complete your Ready, Set, Go for R1 through R8 and a quiz. Are we good? Any questions on that? Okay, no questions. Leo, did you have a question?
No, I'm good. I just I wasn't
Okay,
I
all right.
I wasn't aware on I guess it's more of like a statement kind of where I wasn't aware that we had to reply. That's why that's why I did not reply. In the
Okay,
discussion.
yeah, so I did announce that. Yeah, and it's on the instructions. So, it's always important to read, and then also I did announce that in class on last Thursday to always, at least one. So at least, some of you did more than one, so thank you for that, and I put a comment there. So try to, engage and just reply it to at least one.
Okay.
Everybody else is. Walter, as you're coming in, we're just talking about what's gonna be due. So we're gonna have our assignments due and then. So we're gonna have our assignments due and then we'll have a quiz on the 26th. So I'll send you guys a reminder, just to make sure that you're on track. Okay, with no further ado, I'm going to go back to Leo and I'm gonna go to course home. And then I'm gonna go ahead and download the notes right here. I'll probably have to change the name, but that's okay. So this is R4 through R8. So let me share the screen. So everybody could see my screen, guys, ladies, gentlemen, yeah? You can also participate on the chat, by the way. So that you can also do. Okay, so we talked about this last class. This is where we kind of left off. We already did do some of these. And so R4 was exponents in order of operations. We know that the base is the 3 and the exponent is the 4. So 3 is the base and 4x the exponent. The exponent tells you how many times you're going to be repeating yourself. So a to the first, you have 1, a squared, you have 2a's, a to the third, you have a times a times a. So you have a raised to the n. When we wanted to evaluate, and we kind of went over this, 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 4 times 2, which is 8. So 2 to the third is 8. 1/2 squared means I have 1/2, but then I have another 1/2. So that's 1/4 because that's how I multiply fractions. And lastly, 5 to the fourth, it's 5, and then another 5, and then another 5, and then another 5. Well, we know 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times another 5 is 25. That's a 625. Okay, so that's how we evaluate exponentials. Okay, like this. What about evaluating expressions containing exponents? But now what happens when we have negatives? And we talked about this as well. We have 4 negatives. So I have a -3, a -3, a -3, and then another one over here. So if I have 4 negative numbers, that is going to give me a positive solution, a positive 81. Because I have 4 negatives. So it's going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 because the negatives will not count. But B has 5 negatives because it's odd number of odds. It's going to be a -81. And be careful, look how it's inside the parentheses. That means a -3 times a -3 times a -3. Now, when we look at the third example, letter C, this means a negative and then 3/4. 3 raised to the fourth. The negative is on the outside, so this will also be -81 because the inside is 81, but the outside is a negative. So it's going to make my answer negative. Whereas letter D, This one is inside, so this is gonna give me a positive 81, but then there's a negative on the outside. So it's gonna be a negative 81. Just by having that negative on the outside, that's going to change your answer. So let's say this was a negative 3 to the 5th, this would be a negative 81, but then a negative, it would make it positive. So it all depends on how many negatives you have. Do you have an odd number of negatives or an even? Any questions so far? Questions, anyone? Okay, so this is review, this is something that we did. Oh, and I'm saying 81, and this should be, sorry, 243. So it's 3 times 3 times 3, that's an 81 times a 3, that's a 243, sorry. This is a negative 2, so this is to the 5th. So that's gonna be 4. So 3 to the 5th, what's 3 to the 5th? Put that on the chat. What's 3 to the 5th? What's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3? What's 3 to the 5th power? Who can tell me what that is?
Is it 243?
That's 3 to the 4th.
Oh.
Oh, no, sorry. That is, you're right. We were right. So here, this is 81. This is negative. There it is, 243. Sorry about that. This is a negative 81. And then this one is also to the 4th. So the only one that switched on us was the 5. Thank you. So this was a negative 81. Okay. So just looking at the power. So see how this one was the 4th to the 4th to the 4th, that was the 81. And then when they changed that, an extra one, that negative 3 to the 5th is negative 243. Okay. So this is where we left off last class. Even in the expression 5 to the 6th, the number 5 is the base. So you fill in the gap. So this is the base and 6 is the exponent or the power. So that's how we fill that one in. This one is saying true or false. Who can tell me whether this is true or false? The negative is on the outside. So this will be what? This would be false because this means the negative on the outside, and then you have 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, where the negative is on its own. If this was true, then the negative has to be inside the parentheses in order for this to be true. So this statement is false. Okay. Let's go ahead and evaluate problems 3 to 8. So 4 to the 3rd is 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Negative 7 squared, that's a negative 7, and then another negative 7. That's going to give us 49. And lastly, we have negative 10 times negative 10 times another negative 10. That's negative 1,000. How would we do 2 to the 3rd? Sorry, 2/3 to the 3rd. That means I have 2 over 3 times 2 over 3 times 2 over 3. So that's 2 times 2 times 2, that's 8 on the top, 2 to the 3rd on the top, and 3 to the 3rd on the bottom, which is 27. So basically what you're doing is 2 to the 3rd. So this is 2 to the 3rd, 3 to the 3rd. So 2 to the 3rd is 8 divided by 3 to the 3rd, which is 27. Can we simplify this? No, because they're not divisible. So 8 is even, negative 27 is not, or 27 is not. So they're not divisible by 2. So that my answer for number 6. For question number 7, we have the negative is on the outside. So this is 8 times 8. That's going to give me negative 64. Because the negative again is on the outside. So 8 squared is 64 times the negative on the outside is going to give me negative 64. Number 8, you have look at what you have here. So this is on the inside. This is -5 times -5 times -5. But then there's a -5 on this side, or there's a negative right there. So with -5 to the third, it's gonna give me -125, but then I have another negative, so that's gonna give me a +125. That's how we evaluate exponents. Any questions on R4 on this portion? We still have to do order of operations. Any questions on this one? Remember that this is recorded, so sometimes if I'm going too fast, say, hey, can you stop a little bit? Can you relax a little bit? Can you go a little bit slower? But then again, this is recorded, so if at any point you want to say, wait, let me stop her, and then you do have that, so you want to be taking notes as we're moving along. Because when you take the quiz, you want to be able to have those notes in front of you. So just a suggestion. Any questions so far?
Yeah, super quick with question 8. So it has a negative on the outside. Are we just treating it as if there's like a 1 on the outside? It's like
negative
like, yeah.
Yes, that's you, right,
Okay.
Ariel?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a -1 and
Okay.
then. Mhm, absolutely. So for example, like this one, we treat it as a -1.
Okay.
Mhm. All right, so let's continue to order of operations. So this is the next part of R4. So R4 has exponents and order of operations. So some of you mentioned before order of operations is PEMDAS, right? Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Somebody said that. So PEMDAS means parentheses goes first. Any type of parentheses. So it could be the actual parentheses, it could be square root, it could be absolute value. So for anything that's separated, so parentheses, then exponents. Then we have multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So these multiplication and division go whoever comes first from left to right. Same thing with division and with addition and subtraction. So it's order from left to right. So let me just, everybody could see that. Okay. Yeah, you said that. Code name Rhino. Remind me your name.
This is Michael DeLone.
Yeah, Michael, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that, sorry.
Oh, it's okay, it's okay. But at the end of the class, I will ask for to put your name on the chat, so then I'd like to record, I don't take attendance, but it's nice to know who comes to class.
Absolutely.
So don't worry, I'm not gonna go by that, just I wanted to, I wanted to remember your names. So I'm, as you guys are, I see your face and I could kind of remember, but because you don't have it on, it's hard. But it's okay, no worries, but thanks, yes, Michael, I know, I remember you said that. Okay, so let's go to question number 1. And I'm looking at the chat, so thank you for that. We want to first simplify and evaluate the value. So notice on part A, it says 3 plus 4 times 5. So in order, who comes first, multiplication or addition? And the answer is multiplication comes first. So see parentheses, exponents, multiple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're 3 versus 5. 3 goes first, right? Multiplication goes first. So I'm going to multiply this first. So this is going to be 3 plus 4 times 5 is 20. So my answer is going to be 23. Similar here, this is 16 plus 1, and it's going to give me 17. I do multiplication before I do addition. Okay. What are the answers for 9 and 10? Put your answers on the chat. So you do 5 times 2 first, and then you add 6. Good, I get 16. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ariel. And for number 10, 3 times 2, so that's one answer plus another answer. What's number 10? Ryan, Michael, yes, so 10, thank you, John. 10 and 36, absolutely. So here we have 10 plus 6 is 16. And for number 10 was we have 6 plus 30, which is 36. Okay, so we're starting slow and then we're gonna dive. Okay, thank you, Leo. Thank you, Ariel. So finding the value, so let's look at the other one. So first you have a 6 plus 2 times 4, but notice that 6 plus 2 is in a parenthesis. So that's what matters for us. It has a parenthesis, so I have to do that first. So in order for me to do that, that's gonna give me 8, and then now times 4 is 32. So notice how I did my addition first. You're gonna say, well, why if you didn't do that on the last one? Well, the thing is, on this one, we have a parentheses, so that matters for us. Letter B is different because you have 8 minus 3 and then a 7 plus 3. They're both in a parentheses. So I do them simultaneously together. 8 minus 3 is 5, and then in the parentheses, and then 7 plus 3, that's a 10. When you have two parentheses next to each other, that means the multiplication. So you're gonna do 5 times 10, it's gonna give you 50. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question on finding the value of an expression 6 plus 2 times 4.
Yep.
Could you just use the distributive property and solve that?
Yeah, you could, because it's 4 times 6 is 24 and then plus 8, yeah. But because we're learning order of operations, you have to do parentheses first, that's why.
Okay.
The answer is yes, you could, because that's another technique, but just for now, that's why they're telling us to do that. So for 11 and 12, for questions 11 through 14, if I want to evaluate, let's say these, what would I have to do first if I'm following the order of operations? I have 4 times, what's 5 plus 3? That's 8, right? So that would give me 32 for my first answer. 12, I have to do what's on the parentheses first. So 9 minus 3 is 6. So it's 8 times 6 is 48. You can also punch this on your calculator the way that it shows, and it will give you the right answer if you write it incorrectly. Your calculator has the ability to do everything in order of operations, so that's a good thing. For number 13, you have 12 minus 4, that's 8, times 18 minus 13, which is 5, which is going to be 40. 8 times 5 is 40. And then what's the answer for the last one? Put your answers on the chat. Thank you, John. One answer. So what did we do? We have 4 plus 9, that's going to be 13. And then 16 minus 6 is 2, that's going to be 26. Perfect. Thank you, Emily, Alfredo, Leo, Michael, and John. Did you have a question, Ryan? Oh, okay, so somebody's figuring out the chat. Okay. Alrighty. So let's scroll down. The next ones are going to become a little bit more challenging. Let's avoid the curse words. Okay, so we'll do so we have a 3 plus 7 divided by 6 plus 4 times 6. So for us, we have addition in the top by itself, so that's 10 divided by, and then see how we have a 4 times 6 on the bottom. So it's a 6 plus 24. Okay, so then we did multiplication first here to get the 24. And then we have a 10 divided by 30, which is 1/3. So following the order of operations, you do multiplication first, and then you combine the tops, 3 plus 7, and then 6 plus 24, and then the last part is you divide. Okay, so we want to make sure we simplify before we divide. Okay, any questions on this one? So we're gonna move on to question B. Any questions on A? So I like to pause if you have any questions, otherwise we'll move on. Question B, order of operations, so parentheses goes first, so this is a 9, parentheses 8 plus 4 times 3. Inside the parentheses, there's a multiplication, so it's a 9 per bracket, which is a parentheses, 8 plus 12. In the parentheses, it's 8 plus 12, that's 20, and then there's a 9. And lastly, I multiply and I get 180. So I get order of operations. So I do parentheses first. So I have a parentheses in a parentheses. So the big parentheses here is the bracket. And then I have another parentheses within the bracket. So the bracket counts as a parenthesis. So I have to focus my eyeballs there. Any questions on that one? Simplifying terms. Okay.
Actually, real quick question.
Yeah, Michael,
So just to be sure, so anytime we see a bracket, we always want to just follow the order, get the parentheses first, then figure out if there's any multiplication or division, then
Or
the
exponents.
bracket.
Or
Yeah, okay.
exponents.
Gotcha. Okay.
Within the bracket, that's already a parenthesis, so you focus your eyeballs there first. Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna do questions 15 to 18. So the first one, how would we do number 15? So we have a 3 plus 7, that's a 10, divided by a 4 plus 9, that's a 13. And that's it. There's nothing more you could do. You want to say, well, I want to divide, but there's no comment, there's nothing that you can do. Number 16, what goes first? Who can tell me what goes first on 16? I have a subtraction, a multiplication, and an addition.
Multiplication.
Multiplication, good. So then this is going to be 1 minus 4 plus, what's the middle number? If I'm multiplying.
16.
Yep, there it is. 16 plus 20. Oh, sorry, plus 5. Now this, because it's addition and subtraction, I just go in order. So it's 1 minus 4, that's a -3, plus 16, that's a 13, plus 5, that's an 18. So then I just go in order because the first one I cared about was multiplication. So addition and subtraction are the same. You just have to go in order. So whoever shows up first. So in that case, our answer is 18. 17, how would we do 17? Well, 17, notice how I have a bracket, so I have to focus my eyeballs right there. Within the bracket, there is parentheses, so I have to take care of that first. So it's 25 bracket 2 times 5 minus 8. Now 2 times 5, it's the multiplication comes before the subtraction. So then it's 25, and then this is 10 minus 8. It's still in the bracket until I simplify. So that's 25 times 2, oops, which is 50. So 50 would be the answer for 17. Any questions so far? On any? Ryan, did you have a?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
trying to figure out how to check, like type in that thing, but how do I find the homework? That's a question I got for you.
Okay, so I think I covered that. So if we go to our desktop, let me stop sharing this like super quick. So in our homework here, do you have access to Leo?
Yeah, I think so. I just clicked assignments and it says nothing. So yeah.
Oh, no. So you go to content. Go to content.
Okay. I just haven't taken a class with you guys since 2018, I believe. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, welcome back. Did you come to the first class?
No, I wasn't there.
That's important.
Yeah, I was one that, yeah, I emailed you. I was in Riverside.
Yeah. So, okay, so for that, in order for you to access your homework, you have to go through my lab and mastering. Have you registered to this or no?
I'm gonna say no, probably. My lab is what I have to go to.
Yeah, so my lab and mastering.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do all these step throughs then, and then I'll just keep this other
Mhm.
screen open and follow along.
Yeah, because we went over R1 through R4, and then, so if you have to register here, and then
Mhm.
you click on my lab or my math lab, all of this will show up and your homework will show up here. So your
Okay.
homework has already been due.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I know. I saw on the 21st I had to do the discussion when I logged in just now, and then it said I was logged out. I was like, well, that's awesome. Well, right on. That's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We can talk after class, if you want to stick around,
All right. Yeah, I will. Sounds good. Thank you.
or we can email, or I can show you how to do that, or yeah, we'll talk.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
So let's see, let's go back to what we had. So let's get through question number 18. So question number 18, we had 3 plus 5 on the top is 8 divided by 2 times. Now, when we have a parentheses, we want to evaluate that first. So 9 minus 4, that's a 5. So that's going to give us 8/10. But then this simplifies, they're both divisible by 2. So I'm going to get 4/5. And every time you're doing your homework or you're submitting a test or a quiz, you want to make sure it's in simplified fraction mode, meaning that if you put your answer as 8/10, they might dock you because it's not in simplified form. So you always want to break it down. Okay. Any questions on the examples that we had? Didn't we already did these? Oh, no, but there's more. 18, 19. Okay, so let's look at the order of operations. So the first one is parentheses, right? And then we have exponents. And then we have multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So those are the 5. So let's finish off by evaluating these. So what we have here is 6 plus 10, which is 16. And then parentheses goes first. So this is 12 times 4, which is 32. There's been a lot of 32s. On the 22, we have 12 divided by 14. Is this in simplified form or no? And the answer is no, because we need to divide both sides by what? Or top and bottom? Thank you, John. They're both divisible by 2. And that's going to give me 6/7. So 6/7 is my final answer. So you want to make sure that you simplify it all the way. Let's go to number 23. Again, we have a bracket first that I have to take care of. And I have a parentheses within the bracket. So then here it's going to be bracket 5 times 2. And then there's a plus 4. So that's 4 plus 10, which is 14. So 14 would be my final answer. Lastly is this 24. 6 minus 2 is 4. And then I have another 4. And then I have a minus 9. So multiplication comes before subtraction. So that's 16 minus 9, which is 7. So 7 is my final answer. Any questions on this one? How do we feel so far? So far, so good? Because we're going to move on to, okay, we're going to move to now exponents. Because we didn't have exponents, but we will now. So evaluating expressions using order of operations. So if we have a 6 plus 4 times 3 squared. So what goes first? If we have PEMDAS, do we have parentheses? No. Do we have exponents? Yes. So that's what we're going to evaluate first. So we're going to do 6 plus 4 times 9 because 3 squared is 9. Now I have 4 times 9 that goes next. So that's 6 plus 36, which is 42. So 42 would be our answer. Okay, now B gets more complicated because you have an exponent here and an exponent here. We do that first. So then this is going to be 1/4 times, what's 2 to the third? We talked about exponents. What's 2 times 2 times 2? That should give us 8. So that's 8, and then plus, I'm not going to multiply yet because I still have another exponent to do, so it's 2 times 5 squared is 25. Now I have multiplication and addition and subtraction, so I'm going to multiply next. So I have 1/4 times 8, so 8 divided by 4 is 2 plus, so this is going to give me 2. 9 times 4 is 36 minus 50. Now I have addition. 2 plus 36 is 38. Minus 50 is going to be a negative what? If I have $38, but I owe $50, then I owe $12. Yeah. So negative 12 should be my answer. Thank you, Marcy. Any questions so far on doing exponents with that sense? Okay. We're fine, everybody. So far, so good. In terms of content wise, speed. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody is good so far. Okay. Awesome. So let's move on to the next set. So I don't want to show you the solution yet. So to evaluate each expression, so order of operations, so I have parentheses and then exponent right here. So this is going to be 2 plus 3 times 4 squared is 16. And this is a times, of course, and then this is going to be 5 times 4. Now our multiplication goes next. So from here, I'm going to go 2 plus 3 times 16 is 48 divided by 20. So that's 50 over 20. Is that my answer? And the answer is no, because 50 divided by 20, they're both divisible by 10. And that's going to give me 5 over 2. So 5 halves is the first answer for letter A. Okay. Any questions on letter A? Okay. So I'll let you write that down as we're moving along. You're taking notes. For part B, there's a lot of things going around in part B. So notice that this is an absolute value, not bracket. An absolute value is the distance away from 0, something that we discussed in our chapter. The first few sections, I think it was R3, where we talked about absolute values. So to find this, we have exponents and we have a parenthesis. So I'm going to do parentheses first. So there's a -2 on the outside of the bracket. I have a -2 to the third minus 4 times 3 squared and then bracket. So we're going to do step by step. Now we have an exponent here and an exponent here. So -2 bracket, absolute value, -2 times, so -2 raised to the third is -8 because it's a -2 times a -2 times a -2. But there's a negative in the front, so let's not forget that. And then we have a -4 times 9. The 4 times 9 is because 3 squared is 9. Now we have multiplication, so it's a -2 absolute value of +8 because -1 times -8 is a +8 minus a 36. Now, we have 8 minus 36 in the absolute value. What's 8 minus 36? That's -28. And then we have a -2. So the absolute value of any negative is the distance away from 0. So -28, it becomes actually a +28 times -2, you get -56. So our final answer should be -56. Okay. Like so. Any questions on this one? Are we good on this one? How do we feel? Is it sinking a little bit? It can be too much sometimes. So just making sure you're organizing everything. That's very important. All right, yeah, so when we're done, you guys can go ahead and jump to my math lab and then get that done. So the ready, set, go. And then have these notes in front of you. Remember, it's all R1 through R8. So whatever we covered the first day of class, all the way through what we get done today. Okay. And that's going to be due this Tuesday along with a quiz. And just so things do build up really quick. All right, let's do the last few questions and then we'll be already in R5. So how awesome is that? Okay, so let's do questions 25 through 30 and then we'll move on to R5. Around like 8 p.m. or 7:30 or 7:45, we'll have a minor break and then we'll come back. Okay, because I know 3 hours can be a long time. Okay, so let's get to number 25. So order of operations, the exponent is before any addition or subtraction or multiplication. So this is going to be -8 plus 2 times 25. That's going to be -8 plus 50, which is 42. So for 25, my answer is 42. For question 26, I have exponents first. So this is 5 times 3 minus 3 times 2 to the third is 8, right? So now I have 2 multiplication. So that's 15 minus 24. And that's going to be negative. What's my answer? 15 minus 24. Answers on the chat. -9, right? Thank you, Michael. Yeah, when we subtract a positive from a negative, that's a larger, it becomes a negative value. So we get a -9 right there. So now for question 27, now you have a parentheses before the exponent. So for this parentheses, you have 5 times 2 squared. So then you do exponents first. You do 5 times 4, which is 20. Because you have 10 minus 8, there's a 2, there's squaring the 2. So then exponent becomes before multiplication. Okay, let's move on over here to 28. So for this one, we have 2 exponents simultaneously together. We have a -2 squared and a 4 squared. So let's kind of make sure that we do that first because that's order of operations. So over here in that corner, I'll do 3 times, well, what's -2 times another -2? That's going to be a +4. Plus, I'm not going to multiply this yet, so I'll leave it as a 6 times 3. Minus 3 times 4 squared is 16. So then now, because everything is multiplication or addition, multiplication comes next. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 6 times 3 is 18. and then minus 48. So then we have 12 plus 18, that gives us what, 30? Minus 48, which is negative 18. Any questions on 28? No questions so far.
Yeah, sure. Where exactly are you finding this number 28? Is that in Leo or what? Because I don't have my I can't get to the Leo. It's my computer, I guess. I don't have my actual. I'm using a MacBook and it's an outdated one, so I'm gonna have to switch computers, which I can't do right now.
Okay, so
Is
you
that
can
where this
follow
is at?
these- So you can follow these notes.
Oh, I can or I can't.
No, I'm asking you, can you? So are you looking at what I'm writing?
Yeah, I'm watching what you're doing on here, but like I'm not able to like because I downloaded the notes and I can't find this page that you're on in it.
Okay, so did you, let me ask you this. Did you, so if we go to Leo, did you go
Yeah, I
to the,
can't get to that right now. It's not letting me.
oh, it's not letting you. Okay, so what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do is I'm gonna send you the notes. So you were able to download the notes, is that right? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
I'm looking at them right now. I just can't find where you're at on them, you know? There's like 61 pages.
So I'm in page 8. I'm in order.
Okay.
Go to page 8.
Because like for some reason it's all zoomed in online, so I can't really even see most of what you got going on there.
That's so really sad.
There we go. Okay, I find it now. All right.
So I'm just going
Yeah,
in,
I can see. All right, thank you.
you just want to follow those notes.
Yeah, I'll do that. All
I
right.
know it's tough because I mean, when you don't come to the first day, you kind of like, you're pretty much lost, right?
Well, I mean,
Totally.
I'm already like, falling behind in my head as is. So this ain't helping the fact that I'm not was there the first day, that's for sure. So yeah, all right, thank you. I'll follow along from there then.
Awesome. And then let me know if you have any questions about the material, because you're gonna have to do a quiz on that, just FYI.
Yeah, on Tuesday. I mean, if I fail it, it is what it is. But thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, anybody else, questions about the content? How do we feel? Everybody's on board? Do you know where we're at, everybody? So it should be page 8. So on my end, it's on page 8. It's like, do you see like in the corner? Hopefully you guys could see it right here. Oh, I think it left. Let's see, right here and then down here. So let me just color it in so you guys can see where I'm at. Like right there, like on this side. Okay. Alrighty, so we were left off in negative 18 right here. That was our answer for question 28. Let's go on to question 29. Okay, so for question 29, again, we don't have a parentheses, but we have an exponent. So the exponent will come first. We're going to be evaluating that first. So that's this one. So it's going to be 4 plus 36 divided by 2 times 3 plus 2. So the next thing is a multiplication. So here we have 4 plus 36 divided by 6 plus 2. Now there's addition on the top, addition on the bottom. So we're going to get 40 divided by 8, which we know that's 5. So 5 is the answer for number 29. All right, so for question 30, let me extend a little bit on my screen so it's bigger for you to see the content. There it is. So just extending that a little bit. Okay, so now for this one, we have again an absolute value. So this absolute value counts as a parentheses. And I have a parentheses in the absolute value, so that goes first. So negative 3 absolute value 7 squared minus 2 times 3, that's going to be cubed. The 3 is going to be cubed. So then you have a negative 3. Now exponents goes next. So 7 squared is 49 minus 2 times, what's 3 times 3 times 3? 27. Again, absolute value. And that's going to be a negative 3 on the outside, absolute value. of 49 minus, what's 2 times 27? 54. So when we subtract 49 and 54, we get a negative what? So we have a -3 on the outside, and what goes on the inside, the absolute value? What's 49 minus 54? That should give me a negative number, -5, right? So be careful there. So we should have a negative number. So it's a -3, an absolute value, and a -5. Now, I have a negative inside an absolute value. That's gonna change, so it's gonna be -3 times +5, that's a -15. So my answer should be a -15, because when we do the absolute value, then it becomes positive. So -3 times a +5, we get a -15. Okay. So far, so good, everybody? In order of operations, exponents, how do we feel about that? Are we ready to move on to the next section? So R5, that's the next one. So far, so good, everybody? Okey dokes. Awesome. Let's move on to algebraic expressions, R5. So what is R5? So R5, we're going to be given statements, and then we have to change that to formulas as numbers. So here we have a variable, so we're gonna either see an X, a Y, a Z. We have a constant, meaning those are pure numbers, 5, square root of 2. So we have the first algebraic expression, 3x plus 4, that's a linear one. 2y squared minus 5y minus 12z. All of these are algebraic expressions. Note that you don't have equality here, you don't have equal to. So this is an algebraic expression. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is making sure that you understand the verbiage. So we have addition means sum plus more. Subtract means different, difference minus. Whenever you see the word product or times, that means multiplication. Quotient or divide by, that means division. Okay. So these are the words that that's probably gonna repeat a lot. So we have the sum of 3 and 8. How would that be as a statement? Well, that would be 3 plus 8. The quotient of 50 and some number, okay? So when we're doing the 50 and some number, 50 divided by the number y. The quotient of 50, so the quotient means division between 50 and a number. What number? Y. So y is our variable for this one. 9 less 15. So it's 9 minus 15. So 9 less 15. So that would go under the subtract representation. Now I like letter D. Twice the sum of a number of x and 5. Exactly. So twice, so 2 times. So twice the sum of a number and 5. Okay. Where the 2 is on the outside because it's twice. So 2 times the sum of x and 5, where x is a number. Any questions on the first 4? So again, this is just converting verbiage into a formula, notice that we're not solving. I'm not asking you to tell me what the answer is. So I'm not saying, what's the answer of the sum of 3 and 8? No, all you're doing is giving me an expression. So when you're asked to do R5 on your homework, don't put in the answer, just put the actual expression. So 3 plus 8, 50 divided by y, 9 minus 15, 2 parentheses, x plus 5. Any questions on those 4? So far, so good? Okay. So a variable A variable is a letter used to represent any number. A constant is either a fixed number or a letter that could be represented. So it's fixed. It's a fixed number. It's called a constant. Okay, so we're gonna do questions 3 to 8. The sum of 3 and 11. So 3 and 11. The product of 6 and 7. So 6 times 7. That's the product. Again, all we need is an algebraic expression. We're not solving anything. The quotient of y and 4. So this is y divided by 4 because it's the quotient of y. The y goes first. The difference of 3 and z. The difference between 3 and z. Here we have twice the difference of x and 3. So twice the difference of x minus 3. And then the last one, how would we do that? The difference of twice a number x and 3. So this one's different because it's twice, not twice the difference, but it's twice a number x. So it's 2x minus 3. The difference of twice a number, so 2 times x minus 3. Questions on any of these? Questions. So first again, so I just want to do pause just in case we're all on the same page. So this is question 11. Okay, let's continue. Now we're going to evaluate. Now that we have an expression, now that we have variables, we want to evaluate. So if we have a formula and they tell me what x is, I need to know the value. That's what evaluate means. So they're giving me 4x plus 3. That's the expression. And they're telling me what x is. So I want to find the number. So what do I have to do? This x is equal to 5. So I need to plug that in here. So it's 4 times 5 plus 3. That's going to be 20 plus 3, which is 23. So when you substitute, when you evaluate, you're going to get 23. So you're substituting the value that they tell you into the expression they give you, and then you get the answer. For letter B, look at letter B. Now you're substituting 9 in here for Z. Everywhere you see a Z, you're going to put now 9. So let's write that down. So you're going to get negative. The negative's on the outside. Be careful. 9 squared plus 4 times 9 over 9 plus 1. Exponent goes first. So negative, the negative is on the outside. No, for B, can you cross the Z because you're squaring and dividing by Z? No. So be careful because, so you're saying these two, like a Z and a Z? Is that what you mean, John? You're not allowed to do that because they're tied with a chain. If it would just be like a Z squared and a Z, then yes, you can cancel one on the top, one on the bottom. But because there's an addition down here, there's something else, you cannot. It's a properties of math, so that's not allowed. So unless, because it's tied to a +1, it's like a chain, you can't break it. Okay, only if they're by themselves, but that's an excellent question. That's something that's gonna show up again, so yeah. You're kind of predicting the future there. But yes, so let's continue. Now, we do order of operations, and then I'm missing here a square. I didn't put it. So be careful because the negative is on the outside. So this is a negative 81 plus 36 all over 10. So let's get this. So what's negative 81 plus 36? That's a negative 45 divided by 10. But I'm not done because it's not simplified. They're both divisible by 5, -9/2. So my answer for part B is -9/2. Any questions on letter B? All right. Letter C. Now we're substituting 1/2 in here. We have the absolute value of 10 times 1/2 minus 8 in an absolute value. So what's the half of 10? 5. 5 minus 8 in absolute value. 5 minus 8, that's a -3, which is equal to 3. So 3 is our answer for that. Okay. Any questions on A, B, or C? So this is called evaluating an algebraic expression. So we first wrote algebraic expressions with verbiage, then we evaluate them by knowing the value of X or the value of the variable. So we're gonna do questions 10 through 13. So I want you to try questions 10 and 11 on your own, and then I'll do 12 and 13. So privately, do you know how to use the chat privately? So you can send me a message privately on the chat. So everybody in the meeting, or you can just send it to me. So where it says 2 on the chat, yes, Leo, you got it. That's when you do test, that's right. So you need to go to find me, Jessica, and then you click on it and then you send me a message directly. So I want to see your answers privately on the chat. Ryan, were you able to get that through? So again, it says instead of having to everyone, send it directly to me or host, whatever it says on your end. Yes, Ryan, you got it. So thank you, Emily. Perfect. So I have one of the answers. So for question 11, what did you guys get? So be careful there. Okay, so we get number 10 is right, everybody. We get -7, and then for the other one, when we plug in a -4 for y, the y is being squared, so the whole thing is being squared. So here I'll have, so this one is -5 times 2 plus 3, -10 plus 3, -7. Here the y is being squared, so the whole thing is -4 squared minus 6 times -4 plus 1. That's going to give me 16 plus 20, plus 24 plus 1. So 16 and 24, that's 40 plus 1 is 41. Okay. Everybody got 41 on 11. So please make sure you check 11. We'll do 12 and 13 together. So 12, we're substituting 4. So it's a 4 plus 8 divided by 3 times 4. We have a 4 plus 8 divided by 12, and then it's 12 divided by 12, which is 1. So when we do order of operations, 3 times 4 goes first. So the 12 and then addition. And lastly, we'll do number 13, where we input X to be a half. So it's the absolute value of 4 times 1/2 minus 5, the absolute value. What's half of 4? That's 2 minus 5, that's the absolute value of -3. But the absolute value of a -3 is actually a +3 because it's the distance away from 0. So that's how we evaluate expressions given the value of the variable. Okay. So on this one, the algebraic expression represents the perimeter of the rectangular field whose length is 10 yards its width. See figure 13 on the next page and then evaluate the algebraic expression for 4, 8, and 10. So we have the width to be x here. So the length, so we know that L is 10 more than its width, x plus 10, and x is the width. So we want to evaluate this expression 3 different times. So at x equal 4 of 2x plus 2 times x plus 10. So if we plug in a 4, because that's what they're asking us to do first, it's going to be 2 times 4 plus 2 times 4 plus 10. So we evaluate it, and then we have 2 times 4 plus 2 times 14, 8 plus 28, which is 36. So 36 would be our perimeter if x was 4, or the width was 4. Does that make sense, everyone? So they're giving us the expression and they want us to solve it for 4, for 8, and for 10. When the width is 4, our value or perimeter is 36. So then if we find x equal 8, let's do that next. So when x is 8, or our width is 8, then we're going to do 2 times 8 plus 2 times 8 plus 10. So that's going to be PEMDA, so the parentheses goes first. So we have 2 times 8 plus 2 times 18. So now this is multiplication. This is going to be 16 plus 36, which is equal to what? 52. So my perimeter would be 52 if x equals 8. And lastly, what would be the answer privately on the chat when x is 10? You do it. So privately on the chat, that's okay, Zakia, if you type slow. So what would be the answer if I plug in x equal 10 to this formula? So what happened when x is equal to 10 of this expression? What would be the answer privately on the chat? Okay, yes, Emily, that's right. Michael, that's correct. Nick, that is correct. Good. Leo, that's correct. So when we're plugging it in, John, that looks good. I'm looking at your answers privately on the chat. Okay. Ryan, were you able to get it through? You said you reopened the app no longer on the browser. Okay. 60. Yes, good. So my answer should be 60. Good. So because we have the 10 here, we have 10 to plus 10, that's 20. 20 plus 2, that's 40. 40 plus 20 is 60. Excellent. Everybody, good job. Okay, so we're going to jump to this side. So then we have, we're going to talk about the distributive property in reverse. We're going to move on into combining like terms. So what I like to talk about when we're doing like terms is to discuss like brothers and sisters. They both have the same variable. So 5x and 3x. So 5 apples and 3 apples give me 8 apples. So you have 5x and 3x, that's 8x. So 5 apples and 3 apples, that's 8 apples. Now this one, Z plus 7Z, 1 apple plus 7 apples, that's 8 apples. But what about the -5? Can I combine that one? Does that one have an apple? No, that one doesn't have an apple because it doesn't have a variable. It doesn't have a Z in it. So you don't touch them. You just leave it like this. 8Z minus 5. If one, or even this, X plus Y, I cannot combine those. I cannot put them together because it's an apple and a banana. They don't mix. They're separated. They're different things, X and Y. They represent different things, so we can't add those together. But if I have an X plus X, yeah, that's a 2X, right? Or 1 plus X, can I combine those? Can I combine 1 plus X? Yes or no?
No.
No, because why? Why, Ariel?
It's
You're
because
right.
the one doesn't have an X.
Thank you. The one doesn't have an X, absolutely. So 1 plus X is just 1 plus X. I don't know what it is. I can't combine them. Okay. So
Quick
term,
question.
yeah,
Quick question.
Michael.
So whenever we see this problem on a test or a quiz, it's going the instructions are going to say simplify it by combining like terms.
Yeah, or they're just gonna say simplify. They,
Okay,
so maybe, so for them, you already have to know if you know how to combine like terms.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You know. So, quick check. Terms that have the same variable, and this is important, and the same exponent. So let's talk about that. So if I have X plus X squared, I can't combine those either because this is X to the first power and this is X squared. I mean, they're cousins. They don't come together. I mean, they're relatives, but they're the same X, but one is 1 power, one is 2 power, so I can't combine those. But if I have a 3X squared plus another 3X squared, that's a 6X squared. Like this one comes for the ride. But because they don't have the same power, the same exponent, I cannot combine them. Addition and subtraction. So terms that have the same variable and the same exponents on the variables are called what? Like terms. The coefficient of the term negative m is -1. And somebody discussed that. Who was that? Who's area, right? That said the negative is the -1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, the coefficient, so the number in front of the negative m is a -1 actually. Is the 1. Now.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Yeah, so on 17, if that was just an M, the coefficient would just be 1, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
right, but because it's a negative, it's a -1, yes. Let's do number 18. Can I combine 18? Can I subtract them? Are they brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Because they have the same X and they have the same power. So 4 minus 9 is -5. X, just bring that along. So 4 minus 9, it's a -5, and then just bring the X. Don't forget that. Number 19, also look at them. They have an X squared and an X squared. They're combined, you can combine them. -2 and a +13, that's gonna give me a +11X squared because they all come with the ride. It has to be the same exponent and the same variable for us to combine them. Number 20, what can I combine and what can I not combine? You so get it now, Zakia? I'm so happy. That's what I love. Okay, now what can I combine? Thank you, Ryan. That looks good because I can combine negative, oh, be careful. I have a -5 and then another negative. So it's not gonna be 2, it's gonna be what? So I owe $5 and then I owe another $3. You owe $8. negative 8x. And then a 6 minus a 3 that combines to be a plus 3. So that's my answer. Do you see that, Ryan? Thank you. So just be careful with those negatives. That happens a lot. So when you're doing your quiz, you're making sure that you're catching these little things before. Remember, you do have 2 attempts, so you can kind of have a preview before. Let's look at the number 21. What can I combine? Can I combine these two? Because they have the same x, so that's going to be negative 4x. And then over here, I have a y, negative 4, and a positive 12y. That's a positive 8y. Can I combine these two?
No,
No. Why?
because one has an X and the other one has a Y.
Awesome. Exactly. Easy as that. Different variables, don't touch them. If they're different, exponent, don't touch them.
I have a question about number 20.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the two negatives. Does those turn into positive? Does that not apply in this?
No, when they become a positive, as if you had like a 5 minus a minus 8 or something, when they're next to each other like this. But because this is negative 5 and a negative 3, it's a negative 8. Do you see that they're not?
Got you. Understood. All right.
Yeah,
Got a little confused for a minute.
that's okay. They have to be next to each other in order for them to become like a plus. But they're separated. Yeah. But that's a great question. I mean, that could come up again. Let's look at A. What can we combine? I'm going to start calling on people because I like doing that. So Nick, tell me, what can I combine from here? Are we here, Nick?
Yes.
So what can I combine? Who are like terms?
13y squared and 4y squared.
Perfect. I have a positive and a negative, so that's going to give me a 9y squared. And then what else do I combine, Walter? What are the other two?
You can combine that 8 and a 3,
Yep, so what's 8 plus 3?
11.
Perfect, plus 11. Boom, I'm done. Can I combine these two? No, because one is a y squared and the other one is a constant. So next up, Michael, what can I combine in part B?
You can combine 12z plus 5z minus 8z.
Exactly. There's 3. So a 12 plus a 5, that's going to give me a 17, but then I subtract an 8. So
Right.
that's going to give me a 9z.
Z.
And then the last part,
Is 5 minus 2.
which is?
So 3. So 9z plus 3.
Awesome. There it is. See, you guys all know it. Yep. Or you have an amazing teacher. I don't know what it is. No, you guys are doing so good. You guys are doing so good. Okay. So that's what we have. That looks good. Our solutions look good. And don't you count your chickens before they attach? I don't know what that means, Ryan. Okay, so let's look at question 22. So what can we combine here, Ariel?
Problem 22, we can combine the 10y and the 5y, and then we can also combine the negative 3 and the positive 2.
So 10y and 5y, that's 15y. Minus 3 plus 2, that's a minus 1.
Negative 1.
Yep. And then can we combine these? No, right? Because one has a y, the other one doesn't. I like the next one. I like the next one because it has decimals. So what can we combine here? I'm going to combine the 0.5 x squared and then the 1.8 x squared because they have an x squared term. So when I add these together, I get 2.3 x squared. And then I have a plus 1.3 and a minus. So a 1.3 minus a 0.4. That's gonna give me a minus, a plus, the subtraction goes down here. That's a plus because there's one's bigger, plus 0.9. Any questions on 23? With the decimals, again, you will be using your calculator if you need to, in case you'd have decimals. So you should not feel worried about doing decimals because you will have that aid of a calculator. Okay, let's continue. For the next one, I'm gonna combine 4z, negative 8z, and I believe that's a negative 2z. So I have a 4 minus 8, that's a negative 4, and then another negative. So that's gonna be a negative 6z, and then I have a plus 6 and a minus 3, that's gonna give me a plus 3. So I can't combine those because one is a z and the other one is a constant. Okay. Any questions on these before we continue? Okay. We're going to simplify each algebraic expression. We're going to be using the distributive property that we learned back in chapter R, at the beginning of chapter R. So we're going to distribute this 5. So this is going to be 5 times x is 5x minus 15 and then minus 2x. Now you combine like terms. You combine 5x and 2x, that's a 3x minus 15. And you can't combine them, right? Because they're different. So for letter B, I need to distribute what first? The 2, right? So this is x plus 4 minus 2x minus 6. Using the distributive property, now you combine the x and the minus 2x, that's a negative x. And then a 4 and a minus 6, that's a minus 2. So you have $1, but then you owe $2, you still owe $1. And then you have a 4 positive and a negative 6, you get a negative 2. And then you can combine those as well. Any questions on A or B? Using the distributive property. Thank you, Alfredo. I did see your email. So maybe make sure you just catch up with the content. Okay. Or you watch the recording. So that's what we have. We have the next one. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're going to be using the distributive property, meaning you multiply out the first and you get 5x minus 15 minus this negative will also distribute. You're gonna say, well, what's gonna distribute? Remember, when there's a negative in front of a parentheses or in front of a variable, it's a -1. So that -1 will distribute. So it's gonna be a negative 7x plus 4. So the key is that you're distributing this negative here and here. You're multiplying it by a -1. Then you have 5x and a negative 7x, that's a negative 2x, negative 15 and a positive 4, that's a negative 9. And I think that's 11, sorry. I have negative 15 and a plus 4, that's a negative 11. Any questions on how I distribute that -1? That's important. So whenever you see a negative in front of a parentheses, that will always be a -1. You distribute that -1 all the time. Daryl, you can't until the recording is done. So if you missed it, you'll just have to catch up with us because we are in page 16. So if you go to page 16, that's where we are right now. If you want to just follow along from page 16 on, and then when class is over, just give it a few minutes, like 30 minutes after, because it has to load to my my cloud, and then I'll send it to you. I'll send it to the class, actually. Dara, does that make sense? Okay. Perfect. So let's get to question B. For question B, I have to
Yeah, my
just,
bad. That makes sense.
oh, okay, it does. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Do you know where to find these notes?
Uh, yeah, we just go into our Pearson book, right?
You could do that, Daryl, yeah. Or because I already have it pre-designed, if you could go to Leo. And then go to, so let me open that page. So here at Leo, if you go to course home and then you click on meeting number 2 on announcements, you can just download the notes and go to page 16. And that's where we are.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go back to our notes down here. So what we're gonna do is distribute this half first. Oops. So it's gonna be, what's half of 4? That's 2x plus 3/2, because 3 times a half is 3/2. Plus, we have 8x minus 3/5. So be careful, I wanna show you something. There's a property when you have a division, remember when I said you can't cancel like this, and you can't. You can't split the bottom, you cannot split the bottom, but you can split the top. What does that mean? So you have 8x minus 3/5. This is the same thing as 8x/5 minus 3/5. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna split it. Because we have one unique denominator, and you're only allowed to do that if you have a unique, meaning one denominator in the bottom. So that means I have 8x/5 and the minus 3/5. Now I can combine like terms. Which two can I combine? 2x and 8/5 x. So 2/1x plus 8x/5. For me to combine them, I have to have a common denominator of what? Of 5. So times 5 times 5. So it's 10/5 x plus 8x/5. That's 18x/5. That's only for the x's. Now I have to do it for my numbers, 3/2 and negative 3/5. Notice it gets complicated when you have fractions because the common denominator. Yeah. So let's do that. Let's have 3/2 minus 3/5. What is the LCD between 2 and 5? 10. 10 is the LCD. So this is times 2 times 2 times 5 times 5. So for the number, we'll have 15/10 minus 6/10, which is 9/10. So the answer is 18x/5 plus 9/10. Any questions on this one? This one was harder because it took us longer time because we had a fraction here, the 8/5x. So we had to do a common denominator, which was a 5. We multiplied it at the top and the bottom. And then we had to do that with the 3/2 and the negative 3/5. So our answer was 18x/5 plus 9/10. And nothing can simplify. Okay. So there it is.
Super quick, I have a question. What was the rule if the denominator was unique?
Yeah, so for example, if you have a plus b all over c, this is the same as a over c plus b over c. You can split the top, but not the bottom. So the C is
bottom,
unique.
okay.
But if you had A plus B over C plus D, you can't separate them.
Oh, so the denominator has to be alone in order for that to work.
The denominator has to be alone, exactly. The denominator only. I don't care about the top, I care about the bottom. Does that answer your question, Ariel?
Yes.
Any other questions in regards to this? Because we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do a few more. So number 25 and 26 are easy, right? Because you distribute your 3. So here you'll have a 3x minus 6. You're distributing the 3, and then a plus x. You combine like terms, you get 4x minus 6 for number 25. For 26, very similar, you distribute your 5. You get 5y plus 15 minus 10y minus 4. You combine 5y and negative 10y, that's a negative 5y, and a 15 and a minus 4, a plus 11. Okay, so for question 25, the answer was 4x minus 6. For question 26 is negative 5y plus 11. Could we do 27 and 28? Do we want to try those? So for that one, you're going to distribute your 3 here, and the negative 2, you're distributing the whole negative 2. So for 27, I'm going to do it in red, 3z plus 12 minus 6z minus 2. Now 3z and negative 6z, it's a negative 3z, and then plus 10. That's question 27. So make sure you distribute the negative 2. So for 28, you have 2 negatives you distribute. You distribute the negative 4 and then the negative 1. So for this one, you distribute the negative 4 and the negative 1. So here you'll have negative 4x plus 8 minus 2x minus 4. Now you combine the negative 4 and the negative 2, that's a negative 6x. The 8 minus 4, that's a plus 4. So that's for question 28. So what gets more complicated is 29 and 30 because we're going to start looking at fractions, but that's okay. So for 29, we want the half of 6x and half of 4. So that's 3x. The half of 6 is 3. The x goes along, and then plus 2, and then minus, let's use the rule that we just learned. This negative is in front of the whole thing. So negative 3x, how did I get 3x? 15 divided by 5. So 15x plus 5 over 5 is the same as 15x over 5, and then 5 over 5. So we split it, the 15x plus 5 as 15x divided by 5 and 5 divided by 5. So 15 divided by 5, that's a 3x. A 5 divided by 5 is a 1. But there's still a negative right there that I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to get 3x plus 2 minus 3x minus 1. The 3x's will cancel. I have a plus 3 minus 3, and I have a 2 minus 1. That's going to be 1. So 1 is the answer for number 29. Questions on 29? So this is the time to ask questions.
And just to confirm for number 27, that -2 just makes it so that each item inside the parentheses has a -1 next to it. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
because The -2, so it says a 2, but there's actually a -2. Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay, because yeah, I think I remember that from like 2 pages ago or something like that.
Yeah, because that
you.
negative means -1, so it's like -2 times, sorry, it's a -1 times a +2, that makes it a negative.
Okay, thanks.
So 30, you guys will help me out. How do I split it? Can I split 30? And the answer is yes, because I have a unique denominator of 3 and of 2. So then that's going to be 5x over 3 minus 1 over 3 plus 5x over 2 plus 9 over 2. You split it because they have a unique solution, a unique denominator. We'll have a break soon, so let's see. We're gonna move on to our determining the domain, so let's see where we're at. I think we're on the new section because we're already in roots. So we were in R5, we're gonna start R6 when we start radicals. Okay. So radicals is R6. So from here, it's a new section. We're finishing R5. Okay, so let's finish R5. We'll finish R5 and then we'll go on break and then we'll meet again. So here we have a 5x to the third and a 5x. So those are going to combine. The denominators, you have to be careful. So I have 5x over 3 plus 5x over 2. I cannot combine them because they don't have the same denominator. So that means I multiply this by 3. I multiply this by 2 because my LCD is 6. So this is 10x over 6 plus 15x over 6. That's going to be 25x over 6. Now I have a -1/3 and a +9/2. I'm going to have a common denominator again. Now the common denominator will be 6, so I multiply these two by 2, this by 3. So I'll have a -2 over 6 here, -2 over 6. And then I have a plus 27 over 6. So that's 25 over 6. Oh, sorry, 25 over 6. So my answer is this. Can I combine those two? They have the same denominator. I can just do 25x plus 25 all over 6. That's all I can do. But they're the same. These two are the same answer. I just put them together, but because they don't combine, I'll just leave them like that. They don't combine anyway. Any questions on this one? 30. So the tricky part is the denominators. Yeah, somebody had a question.
Oh yeah, I just had a question. So we are not gonna go subtract or the 5x over 3 minus the 1/3, even though they have common denominators, we're not
Exactly.
subtracting them because they're not like terms, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
You can't put them together. Even though it doesn't matter if they have a common denominator, if they don't have a like term. Yeah. Any other question? So we'll go on to determining the domain. So what is the domain? The domain, you focus on the denominator. So whenever you hear the word domain, find the domain of a variable. Those are your possible values. The only way the domain for this is x cannot equal 0 when you have 1 over x, because it will make it undefined. X cannot equal 0 in the denominator because it will make it undefined. So if we look at this one, determine the values that are in the domain of the variable x. So if I look at the denominator, where does x plus 3 equal 0? Well, that's at -3. -3 plus 3 is 0. So this one is not in the domain. Everything else is. This is in the domain and this is in the domain. So you first find where you are not in the domain, so then everything else is going to be on your domain. Does that make sense? So basically you figure out where is the number that's going to explode my function or my expression. So the expression is going to explode when you have a 0 on the denominator. So because the -3 makes my denominator 0, boom, I'm gonna have to remove that option. Everything else works except -3. So see how this one is in the domain, this is in the domain, this one's not in the domain because it makes my denominator 0. That's the whole point. And that's whenever you have division. So x = 3 is good because when you plug in a 3 plus 3 is a 6, so we're good. When it's a 0, it's 0 plus 3. 3 is good. It's 0 is good. When x is -3, no, because the denominator is 0. So the set of values that are in the variable is called the domain. So look at this. In the problems 32 to 34, determine which of the values are in the domain. So what is the tricky part on 32? You find where is this denominator 0? What will make this number 0? What number? Your answer's on the chat. What will make x minus 4 0? What x value? At the 4, exactly. So can 4 be part of the domain? No. So x being equal to 2, x, 0, and -3 all work except 4. So A, B, and D work, but not C. Does that make sense, everyone? So you find the one that makes it undefined, and then you take that one away. So the answer would be A, B, and D, not C, because C is where it makes it undefined. Does that make sense? So on 33, what will make 33 undefined? Where does that one? Now -3, right? So D would not work. A will work, B will work, and C will work, but not D, because at x = -3, no, it's excluded. You can't be -3, but you can be everything else. And then the last one is tricky because you have to factor the denominator. So how do you guys know how to factor? So do you guys know how to use this little X method thingy? Or no? So when you have a quadratic and you want to factor A, B, and C, so it's A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1, and C equals -6. These are the coefficients. So A times C goes up here. Write this down, please, if you've never seen it. If you know how to factor or do the guess and check, by all means do that. And then we have B right here. So two numbers that multiply and give me -6 but add to 1. And that's going to be a 3 and a -2. So this is going to factor into x plus 3 over x plus 3, x minus 2. So my denominator will be 0 at x = -3 and at x = 2. Two different locations will make my value undefined. So the only answer that will work, the two answers that will work will be 0 and 4 for question 34. So because you factored the denominator x plus 3, x minus 2, there's going to be a danger at -3 and at +2. Okay. Questions on D. So the D was at two different places because this was a quadratic and we had a factor.
Yeah, I'm still kind of confused on that one.
Same here.
So, have you seen factoring before or no, or you don't remember? So
I've
Derek,
seen it. It's just been a minute.
okay.
So wait, so hold on. So you said what was the answer for that one? And you said it was A and C? for 34? And how did you get that?
So we found that the denominator was x plus 3 and x minus 2. The way that we did that was through factoring using the x method. So I started doing this little x thing and I put a is the coefficient or the number in front of the variable. Right here, you don't see anything, but it's a 1. B is the linear term. What's the coefficient of that one? That's also 1. And the constant is -6. So a times c goes up here. So 1 times -6 is -6. 1 is the middle one, which is 1. Now, two numbers that multiply and give me -6, but add to +1. Those numbers are +3 and -2. That gives me my answer. This is factoring. Daryl and Nick, are you guys catching that?
A little bit, yeah. It's a little.
Yes.
I'm still a little confused on it, but I mean,
How do you
I think I
decide
just
which
practice.
number
Yeah, I try to
goes on
connect
which
them
side?
dots too a little bit, man. I'm sitting here like I understand it, but the the -3 and -2, like I don't know, you kind of lose me when you're doing
Yeah,
the
whenever you
X thing
start doing
going
the
on
X
there. I'm
factor.
just like, man, I know where you're doing like the X plus 3, like
You-
so what the X comes back and we just forget about the whole A, B, and C or what? Like that don't exist when it comes to that?
Yes, of course. So basically,
Okay.
you're just extracting these. So notice how this and this is 1. So 3 minus 2 is this 1x. So that's why they come back. So you're
Oh,
just,
that whole A, B, and C shit. Sorry, Solana, but that whole A, B, and C stuff is confusing me. 'Cause I don't know why that's even. Why you got to add that to that? Like, what are them numbers for or letters for?
those letters are for creating this little chart without variables.
Is that your way to do it, or is that how everyone's got to do it?
No. So you can do it this way, or you can do this method called guess and check that goes like this, like X, and then you just find the numbers.
Yeah, and I can just throw like a 1x and a 1x instead of using the A, B, C crap.
Oh,
I think just
yeah,
confused me.
whatever
Okay,
works
all
for you.
right.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Wait, so I could do it that way though, and that would still work like the
100%.
same. All
Yeah,
right.
but you're guessing and checking. That's what I'm saying. And I'd never do guess and check.
Well, I mean, I never passed a math class, so we'll see how it works. Thank you.
Of course, whatever
Yeah,
works.
I was about to say, can't we just implement that -3 and then actually just do the equation and see what answer we get?
I'm sorry, Professor. What was the name of
Yeah, I'm gonna roll those dice.
technique?
Oh, I didn't hear you. What was it? I
What's the
don't,
name of that technique? What's the name of that the cross?
the X method.
Excellent. Okay.
X method in factoring. So I can send you guys videos for that. Like to supplement. If you don't want to do it this way, you can also do the guess and check. Which I'm gonna be sending as well. But somebody,
Yes, please. I believe it's going to be beneficial.
let me stop this year. So basically what I'm saying is, we are gonna go on break because this is the last section, the last part of section R5. We'll go on to R6 on the next portion. But what I'm saying is that when you're finding the domain, you want to find, you can, I think it was Daryl, if you can just substitute it and see which one gives you 0, you can do that too. That's legit.
Okay, I was confused on it. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to just plug and chug, that's fine. But just know that when we move forward, you're gonna have to learn how to factor.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we are gonna go on break for a few minutes. So right now it's 7:45, maybe at 8:05, we'll come back. So I'll stop the recording, I'll close the session, and then we'll resume at 8:05. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Get a stretch break. All righty, I'll see you guys in a moment at 8:05, okay?